think this is it is a virus. There is a virus out there, but it is a flu virus. That we've been told that time and time again. But the mainstream media never call it a flu virus. It is always a pandemic killer. Why they have to scaremonger the nation?
It's a coronavirus.
Yeah, coronavirus. That coronavirus is a flu virus.
Yeah, but the coronavirus is its real name.
Yeah, the coronavirus. Why don't they call it that? Why is it called a pandemic? The killer virus.
Well, because
whenever BBC report on it.
A pandemic is something that affects multiple countries, so it is a pandemic because it's affected most countries in the world.
Is it a killer pandemic? It's not a killer pandemic at all. If we had the real figures...
Well, we've had 50,000 deaths. I think that qualifies as a killer pandemic.
From COVID. I'm hearing of people dying from cancer, and they're still having COVID put on the death certificate because they had a test 2 months ago. I worked in the NHS.
Well, that's just not true. You've just told a lie.
No, I haven't told a lie at all.
Yes, you have. Because COVID is only put down as either the cause of death or you die with COVID if you've been tested hang on. If you've been tested in the last 28 days, that's the qualification for being included in those figures.
Which they've changed anyway.
But I'm right, aren't I?
No, with COVID.
I am right.
Not from COVID.
With COVID or from COVID, tested in the last 28 days. I'm right, aren't I? The correct answer is yes.
You're definitely not. I worked within the NHS and left because I don't want to be part of this. When you see the empty hospital wards and nurses standing around saying, yeah, I know, it's really quiet, isn't it? Well, we're not allowed to say anything. It is ridiculous.
Karen?
They're scaring the nation for no reason at all. Every small business will be put out of business for what? For what? If everyone said, no, I'm opening my shop, I'm opening my bar, I'm opening my hairdressers, this pandemic would disappear.
Karen?
No, it would get worse.
Karen, could I just ask you a quick question, Karen, just for one moment? Do you actually think that the coronavirus is a pandemic, or do you actually think that it's a lot of false information that's being put out there?
I do think it's a pandemic. I'm not saying it isn't. But it is a coronavirus. It isn't a killer plague. Which is the mainstream media are trying to make people think that we are treading over dead people in the street. It is not.
But in terms of
a ridiculous thing to say.
But in terms of the volume of people who have died globally, that then qualifies it as a pandemic and killing significant numbers of people. I mean, I think the number is up into the millions in terms of the number of people who have passed away. So I'm not quite sure why you're saying that you don't think that it is the main killer. It is a huge killer.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with it. There are a lot of vulnerable people that have died that would have probably died. Why aren't we hearing about the flu virus this year?
Because it's not upon us yet.
80,000 people, unfortunately, to the flu. Why are we not hearing these figures? Why are we hearing just the COVID figures? Is there no flu this year then?
Karen,
is there no normal flu like we have every year?
Karen, just 1 second. I'm not saying that we haven't heard sufficiently enough about the flu pandemic, the winterfall deaths. I'm getting myself tongue-tied now. But essentially, when you go forward, that's one of the reasons why we're having the lockdown again, because we're concerned, well, not we, but the government is concerned that they're not going to be in a position to deal with the number of people who are going to die in addition to winter flu. So
in addition to winter flu?
Yes, because there's going to be no IC beds. There's not going to be the number of people out there to support people who are unwell. So that was some of the reasons why the steps were being taken. So I think there's a lot of people who share your view in a certain way, but I don't necessarily know if it's...
I speak to people in shops, at schools, everywhere I go, and they all say, oh, it's ridiculous. Why don't the government listen to them? Why don't we get a chance to go on BBC and say what we feel?
Well, you get a chance to come on LBC. I mean, you have been... I know, but you do have a chance to come on LBC and air your views, even if it's not ones that are shared by a wide variety of people. So there is a forum for you.
Yes, literally a couple of radio stations. But you wouldn't get on BBC or the main evening news saying, actually, there's these many people.
Well, they do have vox pops. They do have vox pops of people on all the news programmes. You said you worked in the NHS. What did you do in the NHS?
I was in admin. Right. There's so many people that want to speak out but won't. They are frightened. And I totally get that. But it's so
What is it that they are scared of, though, Karen?
Scared of losing their jobs.
So do you think that there is a large number of people, let's say for argument's sake, who are, as far as they're concerned, they're part of a...
they're part of it.
Of a viewpoint that they can't express? I mean,
so many people, and I'm talking doctors, consultants, admin staff, porters, nurses, but they can't speak out with fear of losing their job. I get that. They've got families to support. I don't actually need the job to survive. So if I walk away, I walk away. And I'm doing a completely different job now, which I'm enjoying. I won't get furloughed. But, you know, I feel for people who are being furloughed, self-employed, or are losing their income. You know, we've got a bumbling Boris in charge. Go to work.
So what is it that you're doing now, Karen? Is it quite different from your NHS work?
Absolutely different. I'm doing emergency call operating on, you know, people who have got gas leaks and water leaks. So I won't be served. And that suits me fine.
Would you consider taking the vaccination, Karen, if it was offered?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why is that?
Vaccines take years to the testing of them. They take years. How are they getting a vaccine out in months? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Unless it's already been out for years, of course. We don't know. We will never know. We never know the truth.
What do you mean, already been out for years?
Well, are they using something that's already been out, that's already been developed?
So like a recycled product, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case currently. But then I'm not an epidemiologist or a scientist, so I don't know.
I wish I was. But no, I don't want the vaccine at all. Same as I don't want the flu vaccine either. But
really?
That's up to everyone.
I mean, what kind of attitude is that? Why wouldn't you want a flu vaccine if it stopped you getting the flu?
Because I've had one in 30 years. That was the only year I was so ill.
What, one bout of flu or one bout of the vaccination?
I'm not saying other people not to have it. That's a personal thing. I've had it once in 30 years. That was the year I was ill. I've never had it again, and I won't have it again. But everyone's got their own opinions on vaccinations, and I'm not here to tell people to have or not have vaccinations.
Karen?
I don't personally have any Tory friends that I'm aware of. But I talk to Tories all the time. I'm very happy talking to people whose views I disagree with. I love arguments. I love debate. I love the idea of trying to persuade people who have different views to mine. It's part of, you know, I love all that kind of thing. I'll argue and discuss with anyone in a very polite and friendly way. But in terms of actually close friendships, to me, people's values are really important. And there are things that the Tory party has done, things it's, you know, for me personally, the way it stoked fears about immigration, the way that it sort of demonised things like the Windrush scandal, and these things,
which started under a Labour government, we should remember. But
well, the Windrush scandal was a Tory policy. The hostile environment was a Tory policy. It was enacted, and
you see, this is where, I mean, I'll have a perfectly polite conversation, but if you mislead people and just pretend it was under a Tory government when it started under a Labour government, then I'm going to take issue with you.
It was fueled the way the deportations, the denial of treatment for the health service was under a Tory government. There may have been aspects of that, you know, in terms of people's status and the need requirement for proof of residency and everything else.
Which started in 2004 under Tony Blair.
But the go home vans, the things like this, which are all fueled, it was rocket boosted by the need to slash immigration, which was a David Cameron policy, which was an unachievable target, but which was enthusiastically taken on by Theresa May. I can go back. I mean, I can talk about Margaret Thatcher talking about Britain being swamped by immigrants, and the way that the Tory government dealt with the inner city unrest in the 1980s and discrimination against black people. I can talk about all of that. So it's not just the hostile environment, don't get me wrong. And it's for reasons like that. If someone describes themselves as a Tory, and I would sort of separate that from people who have voted Tory, because they can be floating swing voters who vote one way or the other and are persuaded one way or the other at different times. But someone who sort of believes themselves to fundamentally sign up to conservative values, then I'm sorry, I can't be friends.
I could say the exact same thing about people on the left of politics, about some of the disgusting policies that they support as well. That wouldn't prevent me from being a friend with somebody.
Well, that's your feeling, and maybe you don't. Maybe the values that are that important to you, but it's important to me, and I look back at the things, and I guess I look back at...
no, you are part of the problem, in my view.
I look back at... Sorry?
You are part of the problem, in my view, that you close your mind to people who believe in different things to you, and therefore you can't be friends with them. I find it inconceivable to think in that way.
But that's where you're wrong. You see, I may disagree. I have fundamental disagreements with some people, but I don't close my mind to them. I don't refuse to talk to them. I fully engage with them.
But you regard them as beyond the pale. That's the entire message. Sorry? That you regard them as beyond the pale because they happen to believe in different things to you. Well, you clearly do.
I don't regard them as beyond the pale.
You just said that in the last 5 minutes. Anybody that believes in closed border or sort of controlled immigration, you can't get your head around that.
That's I didn't say anyone who believes in controlled immigration is inherently wrong. I didn't say that. I said what the Conservative Party did by setting an unachievable target and stoking fears of immigration. That's what I talked about, and you know, we are seeing the carnage and chaos of the last few years as a result of that. But I'm very happy to talk to people. I don't have a problem talking to people. I'm talking to you now. I can engage with you. We could even maybe have a drink in the pub or whatever and talk and have a discussion.
I could never be your friend, could I?
But no, I wouldn't call you a friend.
No, but I could never be a friend of yours, even if we got on like a house on fire.
Unless I managed to persuade you of the error of your ways, and you which I would always hold out hope for you.
Unbelievable. I mean, the thing is that friendship goes way beyond politics, and surely you can accept that somebody might have views that you fundamentally disagree with, but you just like them as an individual, so they become your friend. But in your world, that wouldn't be possible.
People are, I can see Boris Johnson is a very funny character. He tells jokes. He could make me laugh, but I just wouldn't count him as a friend because of what he stands for. I could never count him as a friend because of what he stands for.
Could you count Jeremy Corbyn as a friend?
I could have Jeremy Corbyn
even though
as a friend.
He's tolerated anti-Semitism in the Labour Party for 4 years and done bugger all about it.
There's so much. Let's not have a discussion about that. But Jeremy Corbyn has been someone
because it's inconvenient to your argument, isn't it?
No, Jeremy Corbyn is someone, and I don't want to. There's no point discussing Jeremy Corbyn because he's like a past leader now. But when people like myself, black people, Irish people, gays, were all being vilified by the press and by the Tory government, then he stood by people like me.
And he was taking 20 grand from the Iranian government on Press TV who pushed gays off roofs. He stood by people like us when we were being vilified by people like the Tory party. Well, he didn't stand for people like me who could be chucked off a roof in Iran. He was taking 20 grand off the Iranian government. So you can't really throw that one at me.
Well, I mean, talking about, you can talk about little small points like that, but he stood by
small point
as a matter of that's a particular thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Over the years,
I'd say quite an important one.
Sorry, but I mean, it's over the years he has stood by people like us when we've been discriminated against and denied opportunities, and he stood by people like me. It's not some kind of by association or whatever, or third party or whatever, or indirect links to someone who's linked to someone who's linked to someone. He stood by people like me, and that was really significant, and that mattered. And when at a time when the Tory government was refusing to let schools teach about gay equality, even to teach about the LGBT issues at all, at the time when it was discriminating and happy to discriminate against ethnic minorities. That to me says a lot, and that's why there's a history there. But I don't, and there's been sort of more moderate Tories for a while.
And there's a history of him sort of consorting with the IRA, Hamas, Hezbollah. I mean, sort of nobody's perfect, I suppose.
Well, I mean, Ian Paisley consorted with the IRA in the end because that's how peace
not when
came
they were bombing
to
people,
Northern Ireland. How peace came to Northern Ireland.
Not when they were bombing people, he didn't.
Well, Tony Blair did, Edward Heath did, John Major did. They've all talked to the IRA at those times in a bid to bring peace. So, I mean, this is going over old stuff, but I'm just saying in terms of, and we can have arguments and we can disagree, and I'm happy to have discussions like this. But if we're talking about friendship, then I think that's, to me, that's about values, and I need to feel I can share people share my values.
To coin a phrase, we will part as friends.
Thank you.
I understand people need something to hold on to. I understand that. So I'm a little bit at the moment. My mum's just passed away in the last 2 hours from coronavirus.
I'm so sorry.
It's disheartening to hear people put so much faith in something that to me is no basis, medieval. And for me, it's an insult. Doctors and the nurses and the medication and everything that goes into helping save people. And when I'm getting constantly now people sending consolation tonight. That's fantastic. And my heart goes out. I'm in the same boat as you, my darling. I haven't seen my kids for 2 weeks. I'm self-isolating because I've got symptoms because I was caring for my mum for 2 weeks at home before she went to hospital. So she's been confirmed and passed, and unfortunately, it looks like the same. It's with me that I'd be silly to think I haven't got it, but they won't test me, which I think is diabolical. And I can't.
They won't test you, even though you were caring for your mother and she's died. They won't test you.
No. The first time the ambulance come, they told me it was a urine infection, and because I'm here, I need to care for her. They sent 2 walkers in and a porta potty in and said, we'll set up a care plan for you, and left. Her temperature was 94. It went down to 90, and they said, because her temperature's going, we can go now. And that was it. I had 8 days of absolute. I'm not going to say that I can't blame anyone, but total care for my mum. And it was dignity side, obviously. It was full palliative care for someone that didn't understand what was going on. And for me, if there was a Lord, if there was a God, surely this shouldn't happen. And people need to suffer isn't right. How can that be right? It's just.
And how long was she in hospital for?
She went in on the 24th. I've kept a diary, Ian. I've kept a diary of what's gone on, how she had no medication. I don't go there waiting days and days for medication. I was scared to go out because I suspected she had it, but we only got diagnosed on her death. They didn't even tell us that she'd had it before she died. It was only once this evening they rang us, couldn't visit. She was in isolation and said she's passed. And yes, we're confirming it was coronavirus. She did have underlying COPD conditions. But even when I was listening to the paramedic upstairs, they were asking whether she had to go into hospital. The second time I had the ambulance round after caring for her for days and really struggling with my symptoms, I couldn't breathe myself. I've had one in a fever myself. I was here. I couldn't do anything. It got to a stage where I have just looked at my mum and apologised. I couldn't care for her anymore because I was ill.
Do you feel let down by the whole system?
I don't feel let down. I'm not going to have a go at the government. But this thing. Anyone out there, please? I don't know what was that group today, and I had to let our friends know. And one person just put it on there, a couple of coronavirus jokes straight after the announcement. My mum died of coronavirus. Guys, you've got to look at this thing. I'm not going to lie. 2-3 weeks ago, I didn't take it seriously. But people, you really need to self-isolate. And she went on holiday 3 weeks ago. We told her not to go, and she's come back, and she's been infected.
Where did she go?
I'm not going to mention the it's not fair. It's she's an old lady. She was 79, but she went to a famous old people's place. I have tried to contact them to let them know that they'd had someone stay there and contracted. If you want me to, I'll email you full details. I'll even send you my diary of what happened, because I know that you're a literature man.
Please do. Please do. No, that's absolutely fine.
The doctors, the nurses, I'm not going to put anyone down. Even the paramedics that come here, the tremendous stress they were under. I bow to them. I will bow to anyone like that rather than, sorry to say, people a false prophecy.
Cliff, you presumably living on your own now?
I can't go home. I'm in my mum's house. I have to stay here. I can't even go and see my kids. It's not. I've spoken to them on the phone. I'm stuck. I've now it's been confirmed to me that it's coronavirus, so I now have to self-isolate. I'm stuck in a house where, unfortunately, it's not very good memories for me at the moment. I'm sorry. It sounds like me. I'm sorry, but it's.
Well, Cliff, do not apologise. That it's only happened 2 hours ago. I think everyone listening will understand your emotion. I mean, I remember what I was like when my mum died, and I mean, okay, it was very different circumstances to this, but well, let's not even go there. But the point is that you're on your own. You've just had this terrible thing happen, and I just want to be sure that you've got people that you're talking to. Obviously, you can't see them physically.
He's brilliant. He's saying he'll come round, but absolutely not. No, I've told him to stay at home. I've told everybody to stay away. Listen, I can deal with this. I can't work anyway because of my symptoms, so I'm self-employed. I'm in that boat where I'm getting absolutely nothing as well, so I've got financial worries that I have. I've got... It's just everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and it's that for someone to sit there and say, "Bless you, Cliff, I'll pray for you." To me, I'm very sorry, but it's just empty words in my head. But not from that person, please. People out there that believe in religion, I'm not. If you've got that faith, then you're entitled to have that faith, and I hope it comforts you. But to me, it's just never been there.
Given what has happened to you and your family now, what would you like to say to people who are not taking the government instructions seriously and are not self-isolating and think that they are immune from it?
You're just killing other people. If you're young, walking around, ignoring it, there's no other way of saying it. The possibility is now that you will get over it, you will catch it. I have got it. I can tell. My breathing today is a hell of a lot better. It's been really bad for the last 3 days. Today, I woke up with no headache, no aches and pains, and my breathing was better. Got a very, very sore throat. But why would I go to a shop? Why would I go out? Why would I dare? What right have I got to put someone through what I have just watched my mother go through? What right have I got to be so selfish? It's not something that you should do, guys. Any of you out there, please take it seriously. Listen, 2 weeks ago, I could quite possibly sat there and said, it's not going to happen. But hey, and I think we're going to find out in the next few weeks there's going to be a lot of people in the same boat. Please self-isolate.
She still doesn't accept the general election result, the results of a referendum, and still I personally think, they would still try to oppose any deal or make it difficult for Boris Johnson to bring back any deal to Parliament.
She's nodding her head.
I will oppose his deal. I voted against it today. Absolutely. We are the opposition.
Why are you doing that?
Because we are the opposition. There is in our constitution, you've got the government that puts things forward. In this case, it's the withdrawal agreement. And then the opposition parties. And by the way, as a Liberal Democrat, I stood on that mandate, and I massively increased my own majority, and we increased our vote share by 4% across the country. We have been absolutely clear about what we stand for, and it's not something that I want, and I'm going to vote against it. Absolutely right.
Sorry, but surely you should accept democracy and accept the will of the people and to leave, and be behind the United Kingdom, making sure knowing that we're going to be leaving, get the best deal for this country.
So we are doing that.
How can you still keep opposing leaving the EU after the length of time this has gone on? Had to have another general election because Parliament was blocked, and yet you still rabbited on about staying in the EU.
So
if you are so entrenched in the EU, why don't you just go and get a job with the EU? Clear off. The country. I've listened to people like you for 3.5 years, and you're still talking about it.
We are still talking about it.
The biggest smile that went on my face
hang on, Cornelius.
during this general election was Joe Swinton losing a seat.
Well, listen, Cornelius,
The arrogance of that woman is a joke.
If everyone in this country, if the winner takes all, and then you suddenly have all MPs all voting the same way all the time, that's not a parliamentary democracy, that's a dictatorship.
But you could have voted for the second reading of the Brexit bill, the in principle vote. You could have all voted for that and then voted against the amendments, maybe voted against third reading. I think people would have understood, well, at least they recognise that we are leaving.
We do. I mean, look, the parliamentary maths is what it is. And I hope from those who have heard me today, actually, is an understanding of where we are now. I do believe, though, that you don't necessarily, go along with just everything, making the best legislative decisions. We spoke earlier about how do we make decisions? How do you make good decisions? And one of the reasons we have our parliamentary democracy with the opposition is to be that person in the room saying, well, that's what you want to do. Actually, you shouldn't do it because of X, Y, and Z. And good decisions are made when all of those points of view are in the room. And that is what we are doing. We are presenting that opposition, that opposing point of view. And by the way, we have a mandate to do that.
How quickly can a trade deal be done? Because there are some people who say, well, there's no reason it couldn't be done in a year, 15 months, 18 months. But it's going to be a very, very complicated deal, isn't it? What are the main barriers to that deal in your view?
Yeah, sure, it'll be complicated, and there'll be places that'll be very contentious. Both negotiating teams will want to preserve things for their own country. That's how negotiations work. That shouldn't trouble any of us when there are hard stops, when there are difficult points along the way. Look, we're committed to working on this as quickly as we can. I don't want to put a timeline on it. It'll take a little bit, but I hope by the end of this year or the late summer, early fall, we have a substantial piece of progress and we can begin to close out the most difficult issues. It'd be a great thing. Our team's committed to it. I know the United Kingdom team is getting ready to go. That's why I wanted to be here today to be the starting gun, not only in the trade negotiations, but on all of the other files that our two countries work on together.
And the National Health Service, that was a big issue in our general election campaign where the opposition said, well, Donald Trump wants to buy the NHS.
We just so you know, we found that odd in the United States. That's such a suggestion.
So you can categorically say that you're not interested in the NHS?
I can categorically say we're not interested in.
And what about another issue?
Just as President Trump did when he was here a few months back.
People need to hear it every 2 months at least, it seems. The other issue which people have got very obsessed about here is chlorinated chicken. And I can never quite understand why, because if we all go to America, I'm sure we all eat it and we enjoy it. Is it the agricultural sector that's going to be possibly the biggest barrier here?
Yeah, I think there'll be real contentious issues around agriculture. Each of the trade deals that we've completed, we just signed the USMCA for the 3 countries there in North America. We completed a phase 1 trade deal with the Chinese. These ag issues have deep political. We have constituents in places that matter an awful lot. We have people we want to make sure and protect in markets that have come to be developed in a protectionist sense. I'm sure the ag issues will be difficult. Our ask will be, as it's been in the other negotiations, we need to be open and honest about competitiveness. We need to make sure we don't use food safety as a ruse to try and protect a particular industry. And then we need to have hard conversations about the places we have opportunities to give and take, and then deliver on outcomes that benefit the agricultural sector and, most importantly, consumers who are going to be the net beneficiaries of these really good deals.
See something positive, and this nation has 1,000 years of history, so this will be a landmark. And if we really respect the people, it's a democratic decision, and the government was thriving. This is a historical change and experience in the parliament. Many times they voted and they were confused. At times they decided, they undecided. Every member of parliament was thriving. So this is a decision again through the general election. People have voted. This Conservative Party probably thinking that, okay, Boris Johnson is going to make a nice Brexit. Now, question is, on that day, how individually will some celebrate? First thing is that I feel bad that we are coming out from a friendship, but at the same time, let us be optimistic. Let us find nice way. Let us see positively. So I am going to, along with my friends, I have a hybrid car. I will go for 2 eyes in the digital way. I mean that M25. I'll make 2 rounds and then I'll go for the dinner.
What?
And
what? You're going to celebrate
yes,
by driving around the M25 twice? Are you mad?
No, I'm not. let me explain, Ian.
Go on.
Life, if you really think positively, let us make it some sort of marking day, and then think positively. Do the positive business. Have respect for the other nation. Have friendship, not that it's
but I'm sorry, Said. What has the M25 got that the M11 hasn't?
The M25 gives me pleasure once I drive my hybrid.
Does it? Why?
Yeah, it's you drive. You are spending your time and you are enjoying in a highway, and then you come back again and talk while driving, and it is wonderful.
What's your favourite bit of the M25?
Sorry?
What's your favourite bit of the M25?
Basically, the climate and environment while driving. It gives a momentum, and you love it. And then second time, I have my friends who is coming from abroad. I told them, and they accepted, and we're going for that. And after that, we'll go for the dinner, and we'll think.
Sorry, let me get this straight. You've invited friends from abroad, and your idea of showing them a good time in Britain is to drive them around the M25.
Yes, and they are loving it. They will say, "Okay, we'll join it."
Junction 7 to 8, is that maybe the best stretch?
It is. It's at times going to. I tell you, you might laugh at it. Going to Dartford over the Dartford Bridge. I really enjoy. I
quite like going that. And do you know what? Every time I go over the Dartford Bridge, I imagine driving the car off the top of it.
Thank you. Because it is a helicopter height. I used to fly up with a helicopter in different terrains. I was a peacekeeper in the United Nations, and I used to help the people flying with a helicopter. It is a private helicopter. This is a United Nations chartered helicopter. I used to go to the people and see. And once I go to that height, I find that there is a heli flight from where I can see horizon. So I love to go, and it revitalizes me physically, mentally, and it gives me pleasure.
When you take your friends out for dinner, do you go to a particular M25 services?
It's not like that. In East London, it is close. Somewhere the cuisine is something Indian cuisine, then I enjoy there. And I also go to South London at times. But I'm basically I'm in East London. I'm in Essex in Dagenham. It's closer.
Well, you're talking to an Essex boy, Said, so I'm on your side here. So you're not really recommending Thurrock services then?
Why not? Thurrock services also is good. It's nice. So thank you very much. And basically, what I would like to say that let us look forward. Let us see how the nation really now take a U-turn. It is a U-turn. So even at times in life, you take a U-turn.
Yeah, but Said, please don't do a U-turn on the M25. For goodness sake, chaos could reign. I wish you a very happy Brexit day tomorrow, Said. Wow. Do you think that the fact that the BBC are playing the new album, or the new single at least, is in part a bit of guilt for what they put you through?
Well, it may be because when I was suing the BBC, I tried to explain to people, for me, and I've been, from the word go, the BBC existed in my life. So when it started having hits, I would go in and talk with people on the station. To me, the BBC are the producers, the presenters, the engineers, all those people are the BBC. But I couldn't say, I asked my lawyers, why can't I just sue the names at the top that did this horrible thing to me? And they said, well, you can't really because they represent the corporation. So when you hear about me talking about suing the BBC, for me, it's not the real BBC. It's not the real LBC as you guys. It's not somebody at the top, it's you guys. And so I feel that, yes, the first day in court, Paul Gambaccini came to see me and he was smiling, and his face was a big smile. And he said, I've just come with a message from the people at the BBC. Everybody is wishing you luck and hoping that you get the right judgment. So I thought, that's the BBC. It's the people at the top that did this to me, and it was not possible to actually sue them individually. And even now, I never got the chance to say it too often, but it's still, although I'm past it, I never get over it, but I can't forget that not one single person of those 5 people that were being judged in court not one of them lost their job. 2 of them got promoted. So it's one of those things that you think, they're not the true representation of the BBC. It's all the hard-working forces down below that really make the BBC. I listen to you nightly. I listen to the BBC World Service. I wake up in the middle of the night and think, okay, I'll just get the change and put the BBC World on. You catch up news with what's happening in China, Japan, all those places. So for me, radio has really always been very vital, and it still is. But I just wish they'd open up it's not a level playing field anymore. Yes, again, look, I'm being given a bit of luck here. They seem to, whether it's their guilt, I don't know. I don't really care. But I don't think that the presenters need to feel guilty. But they do seem to want to play my records occasionally, and that I'm very grateful for.
My wife lost her mum 6 years ago, and she worked at a school. They give her 1 week off. 6 months. I don't know if I'm going to keep this together. 6 months ago, I lost my daughter, and in a road traffic accident. And my wife had just started a new job. She'd been there 5 weeks, and they give her 5 months off.
Wow.
And then a phased return. I mean, I was self-employed, so I've just gone back to work after 6 months. But even 2 weeks. It took 3 weeks to organise a funeral. So your daughter's lying in the funeral parlour, and you've got to go and see her every night after finishing work. But it's just not. It's not enough.
So you think the statutory leave should be much more than 2 weeks?
Yeah, or like one of the callers previous said, let the person come back when they need to, when they feel it's right for them to come back. Okay, you can't take a year off and stuff like that, but they never pestered my wife. She just started the job. She's only 5 weeks into it, and she went back after 5 months. And then, as I say, it was a phased return.
And was this in the private sector?
Yeah.
And I mean,
you can't. To lose a daughter is just it's never going to end for us. Never.
And no one would expect it to either. I mean, obviously, I've never been in that situation, but I know from my own experience of bereavement that, when I've lost both my parents now, and I know my life will never be the same.
No. And but people always say they've died the right way, but they might have died young, so it's still something that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And my mum died 30 years ago, and I still think about her. I still talk to her, But when you lose a child, it's just you just never think it's going to be you. But since I've lost my child, I can't believe the amount of people that I meet that have lost children.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's incredible.
And I'm going to ask you a personal question now, which feel free not to answer, but do you and your wife find it easy to talk about your daughter?
It's difficult. My house is like a shrine. Her bedroom's like a shrine. That's the way my wife wants to deal with it. Sometimes I go in and we've got these flashing bits, keep flashing over on these little cassette things, and I can't even stand at the kitchen sink without crying. But that's, I want her to deal with it her way, and I have to deal with it my way. I mean, I've been up to Edinburgh, and I've just had a tattoo of my daughter on my chest. That's my way of dealing with it.
Well, I mean, look, as we've said several times, everyone has a different way. I know 2 people that within literally days of a parent dying, they went to see a psychic.
I've done that.
You've done that?
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yes, but I only listened to it once, and I didn't listen to it again. And it was, I was a bit of I didn't really believe in it, really.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff they say, you wonder how they get it. You know what I mean? I know maybe they can read. I don't know. But my wife went recently. She went last week, and my daughter never come through. So So
it is. I remember doing a phone-in on psychics, actually not long after my mother died, bizarrely, and you have people on both sides of the argument. Some absolutely swear by them, and then others think that they're complete frauds. I mean, I've always tended towards the latter view, but you are right when you say that the things that they tell you, you think, how on earth do they know that?
It's incredible. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they basically told me what had happened to her. They told me that she had taken a massive injury to the head, and she was hit. But the
thing that I don't understand with them, though, is that they can tell you these things, but how does it actually help? I mean, it's interesting that they seem to know these things, but how does it help anybody deal with the grief and the pain?
It doesn't. All it does is because they turn around and say, you know, she's there with like Lisa's mum and my mum, and she's happy, and she's got to grips with the spirit world, and you know she's buzzing already up there because she was a buzzy girl. You know what I mean? And that makes you feel. That gives you a little bit of something, you know. But what gives me more, and if I could say, am I allowed to say this? My daughter gave her organs up, and we've had two letters back from people that we just saved families, which does comfort big time. So if anyone can ever do that, they must do it. It gives you so much comfort. And the guy saying, "Thank you for your angels."
Well, I'm glad you said that, because whenever we've done phone-ins on organ donation, you will get some people phoning in saying, "Oh no, that's just wrong." But I mean, I think it was exactly the right thing to do in my view, Terry. And
we knew she would want to do that.
Yeah.
And when you get these letters that one lady teaches children, and now she's got a chance to live. A man with 2 children went to have his lungs 4 times, and 4 times it went wrong. And he said, on that Sunday morning when I got the call and I went to the hospital, and it's worked and I'm all right. And it's nice to know. And that does give you comfort that my daughter is alive somewhere in someone else, but is she alive?
I remember taking a call some time ago. I think it was on one of those phone-ins on organ donation, and a guy had, like you, lost a daughter. And I'm pretty sure I remember him saying that there were 8 people alive, or their lives had been improved because of the organs that she donated. And
Ellie has kept 5 people alive. We've only heard back from 2, which, you know, my wife sits on a knife edge waiting for someone to come to send a letter to us to say it, you know, because that's what you would do, to let these people know that someone is living on through your daughter. You know, it is nice. I think, mate, and that's going off the subject slightly, but I think maybe that's what the organ donation people, if they were more forward with letting people know. I know there's things you can't tell and all that, but if people knew that they would know that someone else is living on, that the people had to respond, the organ donation would soar, I believe.
Well, I know you were nervous about coming on because obviously it's a hugely painful subject. You will have helped a lot of people who've been in a similar situation to you with what you've said, Terry, and I want to thank you for telling us your story, and your daughter would be very proud of you for doing so.
Yes, my daughter's name is Ellie, I must say.
Terry, thank you. I think I better go to a break.
Welcome to LBC's US presidential election results show with Iain Dale and me, Sheila Fogarty. It is going to be a seismic result, isn't it, one way or another?
Donald Trump is here at the White House, and this is where he's going to be this evening as he watches those votes roll in.
Polls have closed in various states.
Whilst we have some results trickling in, it's unlikely that we're going to know a definitive result by the end of the night.
CNN are calling Indiana for Donald Trump.
If Georgia tonight goes blue, Donald Trump's road back to the White House gets very, very long.
75% of the vote is in, and it's heading for Joe Biden.
I'm
as certain as I can be that Florida is going to go with Trump.
New York has declared for...
I imagine Joe Biden.
Correct.
Do you think it's possible that when Donald Trump speaks, whenever it is, that he could actually claim victory?
It's Donald Trump. I mean, expect the unexpected.
The race is incredibly, incredibly close. This is going to go right down to the wire.
Nerves, I imagine, Nick, in that camp?
I'm sure there will be at this stage, yes. There had been some predictions going into this that Joe Biden would have wrapped it up.
It is true to say it's very difficult to predict at the moment.
You have that great moment when you call it.
No, I kind of feel I want to, but I'm not going to because it's
I wouldn't at the moment, no.
For the so-called greatest democracy in the world, this is not a particularly edifying night.
It's still fascinating, this. Thank you for being part of America Decides here on LBC and LBC News.
I don't know about you, but I've had quite a nice, quiet weekend. And then, on the way down to London today, I was driving down from Norfolk, I tuned into Sheila Fogarty, and I got very wound up. Then I tuned into Eddie Mayer and got even more wound up by what was happening. Because you saw it coming, I saw it coming. The government did a U-turn today, as you know, on school exams. Now, quite right too. But the way this has been handled, I think, is an absolute political scandal. Because, well, there are lots of reasons, but let's start off with one. If you're going to do a U-turn, if you're in a crisis, if you're in a hole and you want to stop digging, you have to dig your way out of it. And one way of digging yourself out of it is to effectively try and take some positives, turn some negatives into positives. And the way you do that is you talk. You go on all sorts of different programmes and you go and explain the U-turn, why you've done it. You apologise to the people that have been affected by the original decision. What did the government do today? What did these maestros in Downing Street decide to have as a communication strategy? What they decided to do was to get the head of Ofqual to do a recorded message. Great. I think he used the word sorry in it once, but didn't actually apologise really for what had happened. The Education Secretary issued a statement. Now, I have this statement here. This has been an extraordinarily difficult year for young people who are unable to take their exams. No bleep. We worked with Ofqual to construct the fairest possible model, but it is clear that the process of allocating grades has resulted in more significant inconsistencies that can be resolved through an appeals process. We now believe it is better to offer young people and parents certainty by moving to teacher-assessed grades for both A and AS level and GCSE results. I am sorry for the distress this has caused young people and their parents, but hope this announcement will now provide the certainty and reassurance they deserve. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was it. So you know what I'm going to do now, don't you? I mean, what an utter travesty. And then the Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson, does a pooled interview, one interview with one broadcaster, which everyone else is obediently going to then carry. No apology, no real explanation, it has to be said. This is not the way to do government. It really is not. What should have happened today was there should have been a Downing Street press conference. The Prime Minister has gone on holiday today. I don't begrudge him a holiday, actually, given what he's been through this year. He had to take a grip, and I suspect this decision he ordered it to happen with the Department of Education. So the Education Secretary should have been out there explaining it all. And if the Downing Street communications people don't think he's capable of doing that, then he shouldn't be in the job. It is as simple as that. However, I haven't finished yet, because not only has the English government done this, we know the Scottish government did it last week, which ought to have been a bit of a warning for Gavin Williamson, I would have thought. Well, today the Welsh government did the same thing, and the Northern Ireland government. And yet you have the leader of the opposition slagging off the government for doing exactly what the Labour-controlled government in Wales has done. Playing politics with this doesn't really cut it, does it? It's much more serious than that. This is a failure of government across the United Kingdom by all the political parties that run the different governments. It's actually a failure of administration. It's a failure of the regulator Ofqual, and we'll come to them a little bit later. So we're going to spend the entire programme talking about this tonight. I make no apologies whatsoever for it, because I think it is one of the biggest political scandals, the biggest government scandals in recent memory. And my memory goes back quite a long way. John McDonnell is the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, Labour MP for Hayes and Harlington, and joins me now. John, very good evening. I'm feeling all emotional, are you?
I am, actually. Yeah.
I mean, it's quite something for the country. Well, we better pull ourselves together, John. Otherwise, this might not go very well.
No. Our whole street.
It is great to see such community spirit and support for the NHS, isn't it? I suppose we always knew it was there.
It's just our whole street has been out, and they've been out and clapping and cheering each other as well. It's just fantastic. It is moving. I'm having difficulty holding it in, quite honestly. It's just wonderful.
Well, let's move on to talk about
it just shows appreciation for those people who've been looking after us, you know. And I saw the tragic figures tonight of the number that have died, and those families must be in a terrible state and all the rest. But the country is coming together, there's no doubt about it, to try and support one another and also value the people who may not have been, you know, properly valued up until now, those carers and the NHS workers and the people who keep our places clean, or cleaners. So there's lessons to be learnt about this. I think it is about our values and what we value in the future. But that was a really moving experience. I'm sorry, I'm a bit overcome.
No, well, don't apologise, John, because judging from the text and the tweets that are coming in, somebody says, I'm a grown man. Whilst clapping and making noise together with so many others, tears came to my face as if it was perfectly natural. Well, it is perfectly natural. Listen, I want to talk to you about what the Chancellor of the Exchequer announced today, the package for the self-employed. What did you make of that? Do you welcome it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm relieved, to be honest. I was anxious that it was dragging on a bit. And we've been, as you know, we've been trying to work cross-party. The jobs retention package last week, I welcome, but there are huge gaps in it, and there still are, and we've got to sort that out, and we'll work with the government to do that. On the one today, I was so relieved. The Federation of Small Businesses, who I work with as well, and the trade unions have been advising on it. My big worry now is the wait till June. I've been inundated with local self-employed people in my constituency, but also all over, who actually say we haven't got much savings. What people don't understand, I don't think, is that the self-employed, some of them are the lowest paid in the country. The IFS figures this morning, I think about 23% of self-employed in relative poverty. And these are people who, you know, are struggling to get by, working hard, etc. But they haven't had wage rises for a long period of time, quite a few of them. I know there's a lot of them are very wealthy, but the bulk of them aren't. My worry is waiting till June for money into their pockets or bank accounts is a real problem. And I know the difficulties of getting money to them, but I want to see whether or not we can sharpen that up a bit to HMRC. Part of the reason, and I did, you know, there have been quite sizable staff cuts in HMRC, and what we could do, I think, like we've done for the NHS, is get some of those staff back in action again, so that maybe we can get the money out to the self-employed quicker. But that's my main criticism. There's some small print we're going through at the moment because there's a lot of zero-hour contract workers who are not on PAYE. They're what they call Lim B workers. And again, I'm not sure whether they're covered. I raised it with Rishi Sunak during the week, and he said he'd look at it, and I'm hoping they have. So, yeah, I'm relieved it's come out, but we've really got to get the money out there now as quickly as possible.
Well, John, this might be the last interview I do with you before you relinquish your responsibilities as Shadow Chancellor when the new leader's appointed on the 4th of April. I'm going to set myself off again now, but you have been an absolute star over the last few years, coming onto LBC when, frankly, a lot of your colleagues maybe didn't. I think our listeners have appreciated that you've certainly come on my programme an awful lot, and others too, and I just want to say thank you on their behalf.
Oh, I'm really grateful. You've always, our politics differ, don't they? But at the same time, you've always given me a fair crack of the whip. And what's good about it, the good thing about your show, when someone comes on And they're making a valid point. That's excellent. But when they're talking tripe as well, you do take them on.
Well, I try. Well,
I'd rather have that than just hedging people's bets and all that sort of thing. So I've enjoyed coming on. I'm grateful for you giving me the opportunity as well. You never know. We might talk again, maybe in a different capacity at some time in the future. I'm going to become this elder statesman. You know that.
Well, I suspect we might. And if you were here, if we didn't have social distancing, I'd be giving you a big man hug now. But thank you very much. That's John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor at the Exchequer and Labour MP for Hayes and Harlington.
I would like to ask any of the representatives from Extinction Rebellion to put their money where their mouth is. If they care so much about we are going to go into extinction, then I will ask each and every one of them, man and woman of childbearing age, to go and get sterilised.
What?
Yes. If they care so much, then don't bring children, don't put more people on the planet, go get sterilised.
That's quite a dramatic thing to suggest that people should do.
Things, ripping up lawns.
I'm not quite sure you can equate ripping up a lawn with being sterilised.
I'm trying to go into their mindset, the things they're doing. And they're allowed to get away with it.
Well,
this is what's making me cross.
I can tell, but you are right in the sense that population growth is probably one of the main drivers. If you believe that climate change is man-made, then obviously you're right. The population explosion, particularly in some parts of the world, is going to make the issue far worse.
They can help them by being sterilised. If they believe so much in it that they're causing so much mayhem that I have a sick husband and I missed a hospital appointment. And since the police is allowing them to vandalise and get away, the next time they stop me and I'm stuck in traffic and miss an appointment, I'm going to get out of that taxi and lamp whosoever is in front of me.
You really mustn't do that, Donna.
The police is letting them.
I thought you were going to say you were going to get out of the taxi and tell them that they should all be sterilised. Which
I will do that while I'm lamping them, Ian. Because the police let them do vandalism, so I hope they let me lamp a few of them.
I can absolutely assure you that you would be the one in trouble.
Yeah, I know. That's the way it is. They can do what they like, but decent, law-abiding citizens trying to get about their daily life.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be if you tried to lamp someone, you wouldn't be law-abiding, would you?
Well, they're not law-abiding by ripping up law.
No, I
agree with you. Lawns.
I agree with you. I mean, I'd quite like to find their addresses and go and rip up their lawns and see how much they like it.
Exactly. I would like to do that as well.
Should we mount a posse, Donna?
Yes, please. I'd be in front. Trust me. They should be sued as an organisation.
Okay, so they should be sterilised, lamped and sued. Is there anything else you'd like to do to them?
Yeah. All three of it to all of them.
Okay.
Let them suffer. Let them see how we feel. People who are just trying to get about their daily lives.
Right. I've enjoyed your call, Donna. Not quite sure I agree with the conclusions, but I hear what you say.